What would it actually take for Congress to stop writing blank checks to DHS? In this moment, Representative Pramila Jayapal lays it out plainly. No masks, no warrantless arrests, no impunity, and no more hiding abuse behind border security. This isn't rhetoric. It's a roadmap for accountability, and it cuts straight to the heart of how power is being used right now.
CBP. It's guardrails. Oh, right here.
What specific guardrails or checks or reforms would you like to see in place before you could approve a spending?
Yeah. So as the top Democrat on the immigration subcommittee, we've put together a list, and it's a lengthy list because there are so many abuses. But I'll give you just a few examples. No arrests without a judicial warrant. Mm-hmm. No masks. People should be identified with a name, with a body camera, and no mask. We need to make sure that the people that abuse people's rights, constitutional rights, like in any of these situations we've looked at, that they are prosecuted to the full extent of the law. There should not be impunity for these officers. We need to make sure that when people are kidnapped, disappeared, put into detention, that these private for-profit detention facilities are ultimately phased out, just like we've done on the criminal justice side, but also that there are minimum standards of care. Detention is not a punitive measure. It is not, even on ICE's own website, it's not supposed to be a punitive measure. We need to be able to track when people are put into detention, when they're kidnapped. No extrajudicial killings. I mean, there's a number of very specific things that we have to see before we can release any more funding to agencies that are already overfunded. Yes. And now using that as a federalized military force to come in and terrorize U.S. citizens, permanent residents, people of all visa statuses, and those who are here who have never committed any crime. This is not getting the, quote, worst of the worst off the streets, as Donald Trump said. He has been lying over and over again and using the civil immigration system, which is the core and the backbone of this country's founding, as a way to target people that he doesn't like, that to suppress dissent and to silence people. That has to end.
We're out of time.
I'm sorry, we're done with our time, but thank you all so much for having us here in the state of Minnesota.
The anti-Islamic protests for tomorrow. Anything you want to tell Minnesotans?
In Texas or Michigan, we do not respond hate with hate. We respond hate with compassion. Do not allow these people to paint Muslims or Minnesotans as angry, hateful people. Let their hate be displayed. Let them be coded with that hate and that disgust. Let us be peaceful, compassionate, and I might even bring some boosters for them in the morning. See ya.
What makes this moment so important is that Pramila Jayapal isn't speaking in abstractions or political slogans. She's answering a very direct question that most Americans never get to hear asked plainly. What guardrails should exist before Congress hands DHS billions more in taxpayer money? And her answer exposes just how far the system has drifted from basic constitutional norms. When Jayapal says no arrests without a judicial warrant, she's reminding viewers that immigration enforcement does not exist outside the Constitution. Civil immigration law was never meant to operate like a shadow criminal system where people can be detained, masked agents can seize individuals, and families are left with no information about where their loved ones were taken. That erosion of due process doesn't just affect immigrants. Once the government normalizes operating without warrants or transparency, it becomes a precedent that can expand outward to anyone. Her insistence on no masks and clear identification may sound small, but it cuts to the core of accountability. In any democratic system, law enforcement authority depends on visibility and traceability. If an officer can act anonymously, without a name, without a badge, without a body camera, then misconduct becomes almost impossible to prosecute. Jayapal is pointing out that abuse thrives in darkness, not because oversight is complicated, but because it has been deliberately weakened. The discussion of detention is especially revealing. Jayapal clarifies something many people don't realize. Immigration detention is not legally supposed to be punitive. It exists to ensure someone appears for proceedings, not to punish, terrorize, or disappear people into private facilities that profit from longer confinement. When she talks about phasing out for-profit detention centers and enforcing minimum standards of care, she's drawing a line between a civil system and one that increasingly resembles incarceration without conviction. Her warning about disappeared individuals and the lack of tracking is one of the most alarming points. In a functioning democracy, the government must always be able to answer a basic question. Where is this person, and why are they being held? When that answer becomes unclear, it's no longer just an immigration issue, it's a human rights issue. Jayapal also directly challenges the political narrative that enforcement is about targeting the worst of the worst. She argues that the civil immigration system is being weaponized to suppress dissent and target communities that those in power dislike. That's a serious charge, and it reframes the debate away from border talking points and toward the misuse of federal power inside the country. What viewers should take away from this exchange is that funding is leverage. Congress doesn't just appropriate money, it sets conditions. Jayapal is making the case that without enforceable guardrails, real consequences, real transparency, real oversight, more funding doesn't solve problems, it entrenches them. This is not about left versus right. It's about whether any federal agency should operate with near total impunity while claiming to protect public safety. Jayapal is saying plainly that safety without rights is not safety at all. If you want more moments like this broken down clearly, where congressional power, civil liberties, and real-world consequences intersect, make sure to like the video, subscribe to Capital Lens, and share your perspective in the comments. These hearings matter, and understanding them is how accountability starts.